My name is Simone Brioni. I'm associate professor in the Department of English at Stony Brook University, and I'm from Borgo Satollo, which is a small village in which the film was shot. The film is about the colonial legacy and memory. I have been studying for 10 years Italian colonialism. Well, there are several origins to this film, but let's say first comes the discovery and the feeling, and I felt very uncomfortable holding into my hands these photographs, which, of course, told about a story of exploitation, violence, and at the time I was also collaborating with the writer Geneviève Macaping, to think about the reverse gaze, the reversal of the gaze, the somehow the black look, to use Bell Hooks' words. And in this film, somehow we look at the white side. We look at how, this distant relative, even if, we don't know if he was a supporter of the regime or not. He came from a socialist family, but nonetheless, there is a specific way of, looking, imagining in Africa, which is still informing some narratives about migration. So that was the origin of the film. I somehow had to, get rid of this uncomfortable feeling, and Matteo, somehow, invited me to make a film together and to transform this into a movie. Then, of course, there is a second beginning when, Uba Cristina Lifara, accepted to be in the documentary, and so presented her way of looking at these photographs. Somehow the film is divided into two parts. The first part in which we talk about the photographs themselves, and in the second part, Uba Cristina, provides her perspective on these pictures. So it took, to shoot the film, it took more or less, 1 year. And to edit the film, one more year. I have to say that it was a very difficult film to write, because I constantly had to, perhaps I wrote a scene, and then we have, we actually thought more and modified it. I think this is really a film about positionality. Therefore, perhaps, and also the gaze. So perhaps by looking the photographs on the big, on the when they were actually, when we saw them bigger, because the original photographs were actually quite small, so we couldn't see details. And perhaps, so I wrote a scene, and then I had to rethink it, to rewrite it, etc. And perhaps, by looking the film, I thought of other things that, perhaps I didn't consider previously. So I think there was really a constant process of rethinking, unthinking, criticizing what we wrote, etc., which made the process of writing. It wasn't really planned before the shooting, but it went hand in hand, with the editing process. There was a picture that we found in this box. It was actually a postcard which belonged to this distant relative, and was one of the many erotic depiction of African women, which somehow were widespread in all the the colonial boxes of memories of many Europeans who took part to the colonial enterprise. And for a long time we had to kind of think about what to do with this picture. There are other documentaries which somehow show the picture by only focusing on the face of the person, or perhaps because it was so important and still affects the life of many Black women in Europe. So we thought that perhaps the best way to kind of show the influence of this kind of erotic, pornographic imaginary, etc. In the end, we discussed this with Uba, and I have to, acknowledge that, the importance of this dialogue, which, thanks to which we made some choices. In the end, we don't talk about this photograph, but it was really important for us to kind of, to have this dialogue, which made us think about certain images and perhaps the best way to kind of talk about or not talk about them. In fact, I was living in an illusion. No, I thought I always perceived colonialism as something that didn't, affect my own family history because, I spoke with many of my relatives and they didn't know about this story. But in fact, I was part of that story and benefiting also directly from this the colonial enterprise. It is a great honor for us to have been selected, and cinema is always a dialogue. So and festivals are somehow a space to create this dialogue. Unfortunately, I cannot be in France to watch other movies, but I think there is always festivals are a great opportunity for exchange, direct or indirect exchange. So I look forward to it.